Yo guys, Coach Theo here on Common Sense. Genetics don't matter for bodybuilding, alright? And when I say that, I don't mean that, literally anyone could become Mr. Olympia, biggest bodybuilder in the world. It would just take enough hard work. No, what I mean is that you don't need certain genetics in order to build your body into something better, something very impressive, something bigger, faster, stronger, better looking. Any man and woman that just put in the work for long enough could absolutely accomplish a very, very way above average physique. No matter if they had above or below genetics to start with. I'm getting so sick and tired of it, how married people are to their mediocrity. You know, how much they hold on to that. No, I'm average, or I'm not as good as I could be. And I'm finding every reason for that to stay that way. That doesn't mean that it's just my fault and I'm not working hard enough. No, I don't want to see it that way, of course. I'm probably telling myself very convincing stories of how I'm not holding on to my mediocrity, but that is in fact exactly what I'm doing. You know, throughout these years, like, I've gotten steroid accusations and people just commenting like, oh, you must have really good genetics. I've gotten used to it, mostly. Now, of course, I've gotten a lot more since the channel kind of exploded lately. And yeah, I've gotten used to it, but of course, I won't lie about the fact that it is annoying. Like, both, it's not super nice that people kind of call you a liar. No. You are taking something, and I naively, you know, I think I can convince some people, but it's not, it takes a user to know a user, don't worry, bro, all that shit. But also, of course, yes, taking away, whether it's steroids or genetics, you are taking away from my work, but honestly, the biggest frustration is just that I'm here trying to tell you that you can do a lot. Like, feel empowered. You can actually accomplish a lot. They lie. You've been tricked by the fitness industry. You can actually accomplish a lot naturally. I basically feel like I'm here, like, I found gold. You want to share the gold with me, but you get treated as if, like, you stole that gold, or it's poisoned somehow. I'll attack you for wanting to share the gold with me. I want to sit here and be angry about not having the gold, but not accepting it too. You know, you're very much, when you're this kind of person, you're very much like the fat person that refuses to accept that it's empowering, that it's a choice to be fat, because that means you can do different choices and you can lose that weight. No matter if you have genetics that makes it a bit harder for you or not, all right? It's like, you know, I think always for a video like this, it's several things that lead to this, but I'm having one specific recent comment in mind. A picture on me. It's like, your neck is huge, bro. I'm not saying that you're on test, but you clearly have a good natural supply. And then, I don't know, goes on about stuff, and it's like, oh, your whole spiel, it seems to be that, oh, if people only did what you do, they could become like you, but it's just not true. Like, look, first of all, the point is never, you should never try to become like someone completely. It's not the point. But we'll get to that. About the neck being huge, maybe it is, because I've trained it for almost a year now, twice per week, as seriously as I train anything with progressive overload. I've seen my neck grow a lot, but some guy just shows up, sees a picture of me now, and is like, oh, your neck is huge. I'm not directly saying you're taking tests, but if you don't, you clearly have good natural tests. Maybe I just trained my fucking neck. You know, I've gotten the same with calves a lot. It's not just a conversation with me, it's something I overhear often in the gym. Like, oh, no, I think calves, you kind of can't grow them, no matter what you do. No one that says this has ever even tried. You know, I grew my calves decently. I didn't take it as seriously as any other training, but I would do 3 sets at a high intensity and apply progressive overload. And I remember looking back to another old video when I was doing chin-ups, but I just saw when I got up, like, shit, I used to have no calves at all. And now I've had this neck and calf day, where, or like a misc day, but those have been two neck exercises and 2 calf exercises that I treat very seriously. And I progressively overload them. And I've done it for almost a year. And now I got the 2, like, oh, but with those calves, you gotta have good genetics, right? It's like, no, fuck you. Like, you've just not trained your calves, bro. Try training them for real. Be serious about it. Then talk about genetics, okay? It's like, and even if I give you, let's if we talk a bit about me and my genetics here, like, I'll get to it. Like, what I give myself, or you, I guess, is like, okay, I might have above average genetics, but not more than that, really. Like, I did sports in my teens. I mostly ran, you know, but some things that would build a bit of muscle. And, like, honestly, in the way I look very average before I start. But the little you can see is like, oh, I have some shoulders, kind of, because I did push-ups and pull-ups sometimes. And I have a little bit of wide shoulders going, and looking at some old pictures, I've seen that, okay, I actually had a bit of legs, some quads, and I can also remember that with squats, I could start at kind of a high weight, but not super high. And like, look, I have a pretty good chest here, right? Let me tell you, when I started going to the gym, after like 5 months of doing push-ups and stuff, I could use 60 kilos for my working sets of like 5-6 reps. So it probably would have been lower when I started. But it took me 1 year to get to a 100 kilo bench. I know a guy that literally has never trained at all. Like, I'm sure he played some football as a kid, but no gym training. First time ever he tried benching. He could bench 100 kilos, okay? And then I think of hearing Jay Cutler, former Mr. Olympia, talk on podcasts about how people wanted to, like, Jay, come lift 315. So that 3 plates, that's kind of 140, 142 kilos or something. And he talked about how he could do that without having trained about it. He was just like a big, strong farmer boy. Now, I give 2 examples of guys with clearly much better genetics than me, and still, still don't bench 315, by the way. Still, I'm aware of guys clearly with better genetics than me. Still, somehow, I managed to accomplish a lot here. It's like, so even if I give you that I have above average genetics, my question becomes like, why are we focusing on that so much? You know, I'm not focusing on others having better genetics than me all the time. But I've been there, of course. Like, I've been thinking, you know, and I can wish certain things. And we're talking about genetics still. I can be like, okay, my abs here, I understand they probably look pretty good to you, but I've always been, oh, I store more fat here. I don't have the 8-pack. I have anterior pelvic tilt. I will kind of get a belly. Even when I don't have much fat, you know, or my biceps, yeah, the size of my arms are pretty good now, but some guys, they just have a much bigger peak on their biceps than me. Like, I can find things to complain about if I want, but I'm just focused on becoming the best that I can be, and that's what you should be focused on. And it's like, you are getting it away. This guy that I mentioned that talk about the neck and stuff, he said not to take anything away from your hard work. First of all, you are, but mainly, you are taking away from your hard work. When you're focusing so much on others being more lucky than you, instead of what can I do to become the best I can be. And we're talking about natural test, by the way. People want to think that that's also something that you have zero control over. Like, you go now, you're in poor shape, you haven't done very well, and you go take a test and say, oh, see, I don't have good testosterone, that's why. But the thing is, I've tested my testosterone once. It's like 3 summers ago now. It was 896 nanograms per deciliter, but that's after 3 years of like stellar fucking habits with training and diet and sleep and being out in the sun is very important for the testosterone. Doing cold exposure, sauna, like all these masculine healthy activities will raise your testosterone. I know for a fact, even though I didn't test it before I started this, I had symptoms of low testosterone, and it would make completely sense to, because I ate like crap, slept like crap, didn't exercise. I did this for a long time, you know. And I know I don't really care to test it, but if I tested my testosterone now, it would be higher, because I've only improved upon my habits. And I've heard about many guys that are natural, that go test, their test is like, oh, mine is kind of mediocre, I'd like to make it higher. And then they do all these lifestyle changes and maybe some natural supplements in the mix, and they manage to raise their testosterone a lot. It's like, stop, just stop focusing on what others have and become the best you can be. It's ridiculous. And it's like, on one level, okay, like genetics matter. If it's not clear, of course they play a part. Like, maybe it's good to be realistic. Maybe it's good to realize, oh, I won't be Mr. Olympia, probably even if I take a shit ton of gear, because, you know, let's put it like this. Hard work beats talent every time, but of course, talent plus hard work. That's what you see at the top of things, like Mr. Olympia. But it's still, though, I'm not realistic. Like, after 2 years, I was in good shape, I was smaller, I wanted to get bigger. Some information I came upon suggested that I've reached my natural limit. So realistic for me would to be not expect so much more after what I heard, but I decided, you know, I'm gonna force muscle growth. I refuse to believe this, you know. I'm gonna do everything in my power. Like, of course, have some sense of what might be possible, but I'd rather you be unrealistic. Be unrealistic. Just go for it. Just like the worst thing that could happen, like let's say now you're someone with not so good genetics, and you want to look be my size exactly, and you give it your all for years and years and years. The worst thing is that's going to happen. Like, you just got into amazing shape. You just look great. You're just a little bit smaller than I am. It's like absolutely no one that chooses to focus whether on someone takes steroids or not, or whether they have good genetics and that. Absolutely no one that's like that has tried everything in their power for years and years. It always comes from below, this kind of feedback, never from above. And in the end, this video is not for me to defend myself and like, oh, see, I'm working hard on that. You know, yeah, absolutely, that too. But mainly, it's actually to you guys. I want to still empower you guys that are so hung up on other people's genetics and whether they take steroids or not. And I want to tell you that, like, let's just forget about that and become the best version of us that we can be. I don't compare myself to anyone other than like friendly competition. And it's become like that. The better I've become, it's just like, I'm just so happy with me, how awesome I am and becoming more awesome. I don't need to compare myself to anyone else. You can become like that too. Like, are you gonna choose to stay in your mediocrity and just find all the reasons why, hey, that's not your fault, others are luckier, and all that? Or are you gonna give it your all? Are you gonna give it your all and become the best you can be? You know what I think you should do. So please like and comment. I mean, someone is gonna come with a odd, super rare story. Of course, some exceptions that prove the rule always, but generally, like, do you know that I want to say that many times that people have a certain weakness. That's what drove them to become better than almost everyone. Like, even with body, some of the fittest guys I know of either became that way because they were small and kind of bullied for it, or they had propensity or like predisposition to put on weight, and they had to try much harder to lose the weight than a lot of people. But that's why, because they weren't naturally gifted, they had to learn to work hard, become that way. Okay, I do coach holistic bodybuilding, of course. So if you want to get jacked and stacked mentally, physically, spiritually, I have a fly or something on my back. You can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. I'll tell you about my different programs. It's in the description below. You can become a patron. Fucking fly. Like, it's a throwback to an old video now. Well, you can become a Patreon or a member of the channel just to support me and my content. Leave a little super thanks comment or super chat on the live streams. One tomorrow, by the way, Sunday, 5 PM Central European Time. Please subscribe for more content about fitness, fast losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. It doesn't matter if someone else is luckier or anything than you. You should focus on you and being the best you that you can be. That's all that matters. Peace.